Hello everyone, welcome to my channel My Big Fat Fabulous Life. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. If you're a fan of the TLC reality show My Big Fat Fabulous Life, then you're aware that Whitney Thor is a popular main character on the show. Whitney recently had an emotional day as she visited her mom's grave. Barbara Babs Thor, Whitney's mother, passed away in December of 2022. She died at the age of 76 from cerebral amyloid angiopathy. Cerebral amyloid angiopathy is an incurable degenerative condition that is caused by proteins in the blood vessels of the brain. Whitney Thor visits her mom's grave. Whitney visited her mother's final resting place on August 25, 2023, and it was quite difficult for her. She was accompanied by her father Glenn. Glenn was very emotional as well, and he was on video as he made some very touching statements about his late wife and his love for her. He also spoke about how fiercely he misses Babs, and how not a day passes that he doesn't think about his beloved wife. Furthermore, Glenn stated that one thing that comforts him is remembering all the years he shared with Babs. Whitney kissed the mausoleum containing her mother's remains, and Glenn did the same, as their way of sending her their love and saying goodbye to her again. She and her dad both cried and held each other as they stood in front of the mausoleum, and when they were ready, they left, feeling sad but comforted. Babs gets an honor. Whitney Thor videotaped the entire visit, giving avid fans a view of her mother's final resting place, explaining that her mother was given the honor of America's mom. This gives the grieving Thor family some comfort, knowing that Babs was so well loved by fans and everyone who knew her. Another especially touching fact about the visit to Babs' grave is what Whitney and her family had engraved on the gravestone. The plaque on her gravestone read, "Loved by her family and adored by millions." Glenn also added, "The love of my life, my sweetheart for 45 years. I'll love you till the 12th of never." Many fans agree that these words are very sweet as well as romantic. Whitney shared the video on her Instagram page so that all the fans of the TV show could share the moment. In a way, by viewing the video, fans and followers who weren't able to attend the memorial were able to say goodbye to Babs. Whitney Thor stood at the threshold of the cemetery gates, her heart heavy with a mixture of grief and longing. The air hung heavy with the scent of freshly cut grass and the distant murmur of mourning doves. She took a deep breath, trying to steel herself for what lay ahead. As she walked through the winding paths, memories flooded her mind like a torrential rain. Memories of laughter and love, of tears shed and bonds formed. Babs, her beloved mother, was now laid to rest in this sacred ground, a place that held both solace and sorrow for Whitney. She remembered the countless times they had visited this place together, Babs always bringing fresh flowers to adorn the graves of departed loved ones. Whitney smiled sadly at the thought, knowing that now it was her turn to bring flowers to Babs' final resting place. Chapter 2: The Weight of Loss. Approaching the modest headstone, Whitney felt a lump form in her throat. It was a simple marker, yet it held within it the weight of a lifetime of love and loss. She knelt down, tracing the engraved letters with trembling fingers. Barbara Babs Thor, it read, followed by the dates of her birth and passing. Tears welled up in Whitney's eyes as she whispered her mother's name, the sound barely audible amidst the silence of the cemetery. The reality of Babs' absence hit her like a tidal wave, leaving her feeling adrift in a sea of grief. She wished she could turn back time, to hear her mother's laughter one more time, to feel her warm embrace. But all she had now were memories, precious and bittersweet. Chapter 3: Seeking Comfort in Nature. Seeking solace, Whitney wandered through the rows of graves, her footsteps echoing in the quietude of the afternoon. She found herself drawn to a secluded corner of the cemetery, where a majestic oak tree stood sentinel over a cluster of graves. The tree's branches swayed gently in the breeze, as if whispering words of comfort to the souls laid to rest below. Whitney felt a sense of peace wash over her as she sat beneath its sheltering boughs, the cool shade offering respite from the harsh glare of reality. Closing her eyes, she allowed herself to be enveloped by the sounds of nature, the rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, the distant hum of insects. In that moment, she felt a connection to something greater than herself, a reminder that life was cyclical, and that even in death, there was beauty to be found. Chapter 4. Conversations with the Departed. As the afternoon waned into evening, Whitney found herself lost in contemplation, the boundaries between past and present blurring into obscurity. She imagined herself conversing with Babs, sharing stories and memories as if she were still there beside her. "Remember the time we went on that road trip to the coast?" Whitney asked, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "We laughed so hard that day, with the wind in our hair and the sun on our faces." She could almost hear Babs' laughter in response, the sound like music to her ears. For a fleeting moment, it was as if her mother were truly there with her, her spirit lingering in the spaces between the living and the dead. Chapter 5. Embracing the Legacy. As night descended upon the cemetery, Whitney knew it was time to bid farewell to her mother's final resting place. But as she rose to leave, she felt a sense of peace settle over her, like a gentle hand guiding her towards the future. She glanced back at the headstone one last time, a faint smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Goodbye, Mom," she whispered, her voice barely a whisper in the stillness of the night. Walking away from the gravesite, Whitney felt a renewed sense of purpose stirring within her. Though Babs may no longer be with her in body, her spirit lived on in the memories they had shared and in the love that would forever bind them together. As she stepped through the cemetery gates and into the embrace of the night, Whitney knew that she would carry her mother's legacy with her always, a beacon of hope and love guiding her through life's darkest moments. Chapter 6. Conclusion. In the days and weeks that followed, Whitney found comfort in the memories of her visit to Babs' final resting place. Though the pain of loss would never fully fade, she knew that she was not alone, that her mother's love would always be with her, a guiding light in the darkness. And so, she embraced each day with renewed vigor, determined to honor Babs' memory in all that she did. For though life may be fleeting and death inevitable, the bonds of love were eternal, transcending the boundaries of time and space. And in the end, that was the greatest gift that Babs had given her. The gift of unconditional love, a legacy that would live on in Whitney's heart forevermore.